The Bruins managed to pull off an overtime win on Thursday night against the Sabres, with Korpisalo in net for his first ever back-to-back with the team. The Bees have been eking out wins at home this week, but they face another big challenge on Saturday. Will it be another positive game or a bloodbath? This is a Bruins tape-to-tape snapshot.
The Boston Bruins have won 2 games in a row after beating the Buffalo Sabres at the TD Garden on Thursday night by a score of 4-3. It took overtime to get the win, but the Bruins secured a much-needed 2 points. The game started a little bit on the interesting side in that Hampus Lindholm and his girlfriend welcomed in a new baby just that day, so there was speculation about whether or not Hampus would play. He did play. Congratulations to the new dad. And interestingly, Joonas Korpisalo got the start in net against the Sabres, which had him playing back-to-back game. And that, to me, begs the question of, was Marco sending a passive-aggressive message of some sort to Jeremy Swayman and others on this team, i.e. that message being, you perform well, and you're going to stay and be in this lineup? If so, I'm here for that because I think it's time to start sending messages of that kind. Mason Lohrei also sat out another game, and I want to give Marco Sturm credit for sticking with a lineup that is performing well and that is getting you much-needed wins and points. The game itself was not pretty, but I think we don't particularly care about pretty at this point. We care about views. And the Buffalo Sabres are a team that weren't going to go away, even though the Bruins took a 3-1 lead in going into the third period. Buffalo battled back to tie the game at 3-3, and the overtime winner came off the stick of Marat Khusnutdinov, who scored his first goal as a Boston Bruin, and he couldn't have picked a better time to score that goal, and he was thinking shoot all the way, and it was a beautiful snapshot. The goal was assisted by Fraser Minten. So what does this tell us, folks? That in the overtime period, Marat and Fraser were on the ice with Hampus Lindholm in a 3-on-3 situation. So again, credit to Marco Sturm for taking a flyer on the youngsters in that overtime period. As I said, the game wasn't pretty. The Bruins managed only 5 shots on goal in the first period. The total shots on goal were totally skewed. Buffalo had 40, Boston had 22, and Joonas Korpisalo was once again excellent in net. And I will be curious to see how Marco Sturm makes a decision on who will take the net against the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday afternoon. While I would say be bold and go with Joonas, I have a sneaky suspicion that the net will go to Jeremy Swayman on Saturday afternoon. Look, as much as, I want to give credit to the Bruins for the win, and I will give credit for the win, there are still lots of areas that need to be cleaned up. The Bruins are still taking way too many penalties during the course of a game. The penalty kill was good on Thursday night, keeping Buffalo to 1 of 5. The power play is still not clicking. The Bruins went 1 for 4 on the power play. All in all, though, it was a victory. Marco Sturm was forced to make some adjustments in the lineup when Elias Lindholm went down with an injury of some sort. We don't know what the actual injury is at this point or whether or not it's going to keep him out of the lineup for any period of time. But that is something to look out for going into the game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Hopefully the Bruins will have an update on Elias Lindholm sometime on Friday.
The Sabres had a ridiculous 40 shots on goal game. And for other teams, I might blame that on a very leaky Bruins defense, but the Sabres haven't had fewer than 30 shots on goal per game since October 15th. The Canes come to town, and this is another team that has averaged 33 shots on goal over the course of 10 games. The Bruins better be ready for this, especially if their defense is still on shaky legs. Like Boston, the Canes had a key player exit the game due to injury in their game last night against the Islanders. Seth Jarvis, a formidable foe to say the least, took a blocked shot to the foot and exited the game early. Details are still unclear about his prognosis, but it wouldn't be a surprise if he misses Saturday's matinee in Boston. The other significant concern for Boston when it comes to this Carolina team is the fact that Carolina is still one of the top teams in the league, especially in terms of goal differential. They took a dip with their 2 straight losses over the last week, but they are back up to a 9-goal differential in all situations, compared to Boston's -4. In fact, Boston hasn't had a positive goal differential since October 16th, a stat that apparently Morgan Geekie seems to take personal offense to. With Jarvis likely out, Stankoven, Aho, and Blake are going to have to step up and fill in for their up-and-coming sniper. In fact, there could be a significant hole to fill, as Jarvis is not only highly skilled in scoring, he is prolific. He's got 7 goals already this season so far, compared to only 3 apiece for both Stankoven and Aho. In addition to a key offensive piece missing, Carolina is also down 2 big defensemen in Shane Gostisbehere and K'Andre Miller. Jacob Slavin could be back on the ice for this game against Boston based on his IR injury date, but who knows? I'm curious as to who the Canes will also put in net. With Kochetkov out for the foreseeable future, it's down to Freddie Anderson and former Bruins prospect Brandon Bussi to man the net. Bussi got the win on Long Island yesterday, but he's also been playing almost an even number of games compared to Anderson, and he's got better stat lines for now. Bussi has a .916 save percentage and 2.25 goals against average, while Anderson holds an .892 save percentage and 3.11 goals against average. And speaking of backups coming for your job, Korpisalo showed that he has what it takes to be a reliable goalie who can give the team in front of him a chance at winning. His stats are not adequately reflective of the importance that he's played in games so far this season. With timely saves, he has shown a great deal of value to this team, in spite of his frightening .882 save percentage and 3.49 goals against average. Swayman's outing in Ottawa really did a number on his stats, putting him at .886 for a save percentage and 3.45 for goals against average. Talk about a spooky Halloween. I'm honestly not sure who's going to be in goal on Saturday, since Sturm isn't afraid to hurt some feelings. Make sure you rate and review the podcast to help us reach more listeners, and tune in weekly to our full podcast available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and all podcast platforms.